In this lesson, I'm going to be giving you two of the best finger picking tips and focus on two things that are probably killing your gains in your finger picking right now. So before we get into the first tip, just to recap, if you're new to finger picking, if you've never finger picked before, let me give you a brief catch up as to where our fingers need to be. I go through a bunch of finger picking lessons more in depth on this. I'll link those up top and link those in the description. So I'm just going to kind of fly through a basic recap. So we have our thumb is assigned to the top 3 strings. Our pointer finger, always going to be on that G string, the 3rd one from the bottom. Middle finger, more or less always going to be on that B string, 2nd string from the bottom. And then that ring finger is going to be on that high E string. And you can use it to just like stabilize your hand position, or you can also pick it. So that's the main thing that you need to know heading into this lesson and into these tips. So the first tip, the first thing I see just from a ton of people finger picking is this. So if we were playing C to the G, what you would want it to sound like, just a very basic pattern, is and then the G. So there's not a lot of movement on this hand over here. What I see a lot of the time is students doing this. So I see it all the time. You're picking. It's just a natural reaction when you pick and when you're picking for the first time or you're a beginner. It's just you have that natural inclination to want to like pop your hand and pop your finger up after every string, and that's just a huge no-no. That's definitely going to be killing the gains when it comes to finger picking. So when I finger pick, I'm just so we'll go to that C chord where we're going thumb, thumb, pointer, middle, ring finger. So watch me a couple of times. There's very little movement. Like my whole hand is pretty much staying there. I just have some small movements between my fingers. And that's just they're pulling up on the strings. So when you're plucking these strings, I'm maybe, like for my pointer finger and middle finger and ring finger, I'm maybe plucking up half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Let me see if you can see this here. So I'm not pulling up a ton because I want to make sure my fingers can get right back in to lock in on those strings, because I'm going right to that next chord, the G chord. So one way to look at this is I guess the position of your right hand if you're a right-handed guitar player. So when you're picking, I'm almost, my standard position here is gonna look like this. It's almost like a C. See that? I wanna have these fingers already kind of like, not in like a claw, but already bent and already ready to just to pluck. So that's going to help a ton with making you smoother and a better guitar player when it comes to finger picking. None of this. None of that. Keep everything right there. And it might take a little while, but I'm telling you, once you get the feel down and you get your fingers and your hand in your wrist position like stabled, all you're doing is really just moving your fingers just maybe 1/4 of an inch. So the second tip, this tip is probably going to help you with this first tip of not pulling your fingers off the string. So what I typically do, I did a lesson on this a while ago, finger pick like a worship leader with just 3 fingers. So you can finger pick like a worship leader with just really your thumb, pointer, and middle finger. Again, I'm not going to go through that lesson in this one, but the way you can basically just stabilize this right hand is keeping, just for me naturally, I just keep my ring finger and my pinky finger locked in on that high E string, and it stabilizes me, so it's quicker and easier for me to get back to these strings. So that's if I was just picking with 3 fingers. Since I have my ring and my pinky finger stabilized, and I have they're tugging on this high E string pretty good. I'm not just kind of like resting them on there. I'm gripping it pretty good. Because it's on there, it's really easy for me to go back and find those strings with my pointer and my middle finger. And the same thing is if you're picking with, if you are picking that high E string with your ring finger, just remember, don't come off like that, and then because then you've got to go all the way back down, find your proper strings, find that G string for the pointer finger, find that B string for the middle finger. So even when you're plucking that high E string, I'm still just giving it a little just flick with my ring finger. So I'm not coming all the way off. I'm still right there. So for some songs, if you're only just, using a couple of fingers, definitely stabilize your picking hand with that ring finger and the pinky finger on that high E string. It's really going to make just a ton of difference in helping you get to those strings much easier. So those are the 2 probably biggest things I see with finger picking, and just 2 of the biggest tips I could give you as far as improving finger picking, making it smoother, making it more fluid, and not having any of those just awkward silent gaps where you can tell that the guitar player lost their fingering and they need to go back and look down and find it. So if you have questions on this, definitely let me know. Leave a comment down below if you're confused or if you have a question. And again, if you need some more help on these, where my fingers are going and just some other finger picking patterns, I have those linked in the description down below. I think I've got 3 or 4 or 5 different finger picking videos. So yeah, love y'all. I hope this helps, and see you soon.